Welcome to Chapter 10 in Lord of the Flies. In this chapter, you're going to see the boys' reaction to Simon's death. Chapter 10 is called The Shell and the Glasses. Piggy eyed the advancing figure carefully. Nowadays, he sometimes found that he saw more clearly if he removed his glasses and shifted the one lens to the other eye. But even through the good eye, after what had happened, Ralph remained unmistakably Ralph. He came now out of the coconut trees, limping, dirty, with dead leaves hanging from his shock of yellow hair. One eye was a slit in his puffy cheek, and a great scab had formed on his right knee. He paused for a moment and peered at the figure on the platform. "Piggy, are you the only one left? There's some little ones." "They don't count. No biggins." "Oh, Sam and Eric, they're collecting wood." "Nobody else?" "Not that I know of." Ralph climbed onto the platform carefully. The coarse grass was still worn away where the assembly used to sit. The fragile white conch still gleamed by the polished seat. Ralph sat down in the grass facing the chief's seat and the conch. Piggy knelt at his left, and for a long minute there was silence. At last Ralph cleared his throat and whispered something. Piggy whispered back, "What'd you say?" Ralph spoke up. "Simon." Piggy said nothing but nodded solemnly. They continued to sit gazing with impaired sight at the chief's seat and the glittering lagoon. The green light and the glossy patches of sunshine played over their befouled bodies. At length Ralph got up and went to the conch. He took the shell caressingly and with both hands and knelt leaning against the trunk. "Piggy?" "Huh?" "What are we going to do?" Piggy nodded at the conch. "You could call an assembly?" Ralph laughed sharply as he said the word, and Piggy frowned. "You're still chief." Ralph laughed again. "You are? Over us?" "I got the conch." "Ralph, stop talking like that. Look, there ain't no need, Ralph. What's the others gonna think?" At last Ralph stopped. He was shivering. "Piggy?" "Huh?" That was Simon. "You said that before." "Piggy?" "Huh?" That was murder. "You stop it," said Piggy shrilly. "What good are you doing talking like that?" He jumped to his feet and stood over Ralph. "It was dark. There was that bloody dance. There was lightning and thunder and rain. We were scared." "I wasn't scared," said Ralph slowly. I don't know what I was." "We were scared," said Piggy excitedly. "Anything might have happened. It wasn't what you said." He was gesticulating, searching for a formula. "Oh, Piggy." Ralph's voice, low and stricken, stopped Piggy's gestures. He bent down and waited. Ralph, cradling the conch, rocked himself to and fro. "Don't you understand, Piggy? The things we did, he may still be..." "No." "Perhaps he was only pretending." Piggy's voice trailed off at the sight of Ralph's face. "You were outside the circle. You never really came in. Didn't you see what they did?" There was loathing, and at the same time a kind of feverish excitement in his voice. "Didn't you see, Piggy?" "Not all that well. I only got one eye now. You ought to know that, Ralph." Ralph continued to rock to and fro. It was an accident," said Piggy suddenly. "That's what it was, an accident." His voice shrilled again. "Coming in the dark. He had no business crawling like that out of the dark. He was batty. He asked for it." He gesticulated wildly again. It was an accident." "You didn't see what they did." "Look, Ralph, we got to forget this. We can't do no good thinking about it, see?" "I'm frightened. Of us. I want to go home. Oh, God, I want to go home." "It was an accident," said Piggy stubbornly, "and that's that." He touched Ralph's bare shoulder, and Ralph shuddered at the human contact. "And look, Ralph." Piggy glanced round quickly, then leaned close. "Don't let on we was in that dance. Not to Sam and Eric." "But we were. All of us." Piggy shook his head. Not us, till the last. They never noticed in the dark. Anyway, you said I was only on the outside. So was I, muttered Ralph. I was on the outside, too. Piggy nodded eagerly. That's right, we was on the outside. We never done nothing. We never seen nothing. Piggy paused, then went on. We'll live on our own, the four of us. 4 of us? We aren't enough to keep the fire burning. We'll try, see? I lit it. Sam and Eric came dragging a great log out of the forest. They dumped it by the fire and turned to the pool. Ralph jumped to his feet. Hi, you two. The twins checked a moment, then walked on. They're going to bathe, Ralph. Better get it over. The twins were very surprised to see Ralph. They flushed and looked past him into the air. Hello, fancy meeting you, Ralph. We've just been in the forest to get wood for the fire. We got lost last night. Ralph examined his toes. You got lost after the... Piggy cleaned his lens. After the feast, said Sam in a stifled voice. Eric nodded. Yes, after the feast. We left early, said Piggy quickly, because we were tired. So did we. Very early. We were very tired. Sam touched a scratch on his forehead and then hurriedly took his hand away. Eric fingered his split lip. And all these scratches are really evidence that they really were there doing this quote-unquote dance where they murdered Simon. Yes, we were very tired, repeated Sam. So we left early. Was it a good... The air was heavy with unspoken knowledge. Sam twisted, and the obscene words shot out of him. Dance? Memory of the dance that none of them had attended shook all 4 boys convulsively. We left early. So none of the boys wants to admit that they were actually a part of this murderous dance. When Roger came to the neck of land that joined the Castle Rock to the mainland, he was not surprised to be challenged. He had reckoned during the terrible night on finding at least some of the tribe holding out against the horrors of the island in the safest place. The voice rang out sharply from on high, where the diminishing crags were balanced on one another. Halt! Who goes there? Roger. Advance, friend. Roger advanced. You could see who I was. The chief said we got to challenge everyone. Roger peered up. You couldn't stop me coming if I wanted. Couldn't I? Climb up and see. Roger clambered up the ladder-like cliff. Look at this. A log had been jammed under the topmost rock and another lever under that. Robert leaned lightly on the lever and the rock groaned. A full effort would send the rock thundering down to the neck of land. Roger admired. So what they have here is kind of a booby trap. You walk up that neck of land that Ralph was on to begin with when they went searching for the beast a few chapters back. And so basically, if you get above that area, there's this huge rock and they've jammed a lever under it. So if they pull on it real hard, this big rock will come crashing down onto whoever stands below it. He's a proper chief, isn't he? Robert nodded. He's going to take us hunting. He jerked his head in the direction of the distant shelters, where a thread of white smoke climbed up the sky. Roger, sitting on the very edge of the cliff, looked somberly back at the island as he worked with his fingers at a loose tooth. His gaze settled on the top of the distant mountain, and Robert changed the unspoken subject. He's going to beat Wilfred. What for? Robert shook his head doubtfully. I don't know. He didn't say. He got angry and made us tie Wilfred up. He giggled excitedly. He's been tied for hours waiting. But the chief didn't say why. I never heard him. Sitting on the tremendous rock in the torrid sun, Roger received this news as an illumination. He ceased to work at his tooth and sat still, assimilating the possibilities of irresponsible authority. Then, without another word, he climbed down the back of the rocks toward the cave and the rest of the tribe. So Roger here, as we know, is not a very nice guy. And so now he realizes that what he's got is a chief who's not really on top of everything the way that Ralph was. And so he's starting to think about, what are all the evils that I can get away with now? The chief was sitting there, naked to the waist, his face blocked out in white and red. The tribe lay in a semicircle before him. The newly beaten and untied Wilfred was sniffing noisily in the background. Roger squatted with the rest. "Tomorrow," went on the chief, "we shall hunt again." He pointed at this savage and that with his spear. "Some of you will stay here to improve the cave and defend the gate. I shall take a few hunters with me and bring back meat. The defenders of the gate will see that the others don't sneak in." A savage raised his hand, and the chief turned a bleak, painted face toward him. "Why should they try to sneak in, Chief?" The chief was vague but earnest. "They will. They'll try to spoil things we do. So the watchers at the gate must be careful. And then..." The chief paused. They saw a triangle of startling pink dart out, pass along his lips, and vanish again. "And then the beast might try to come in. You remember how he crawled." The semicircle shuddered and muttered in agreement. "He came disguised. He may come again, even though we gave him the head of our kill to eat. So watch and be careful." Stanley lifted his forearm off the rock and held up an interrogative finger. So he's like asking a question. "Well?" "But didn't we... He squirmed and looked down. "No." In the silence that followed, each savage flinched away from his individual memory. "No. How could we kill it?" Half relieved, half daunted by the implication of further terrors, the savages murmured again. "So leave the mountain alone," said the chief solemnly, "and give it the head of... So leave the mountain alone," said the chief solemnly, "and give it the head if you go hunting." Stanley flicked his finger again. "I expect the beast disguised itself." "Perhaps," said the chief. A theological speculation presented itself. "We'd better keep on the right side of him, anyhow. You can't tell what he might do." The tribe considered this and then were shaken, as if by a flow of wind. The chief saw the effect of his words and stood abruptly. "But tomorrow we'll hunt, and when we've got meat we'll have a feast." Bill put up his hand. "Chief." "Yes?" "What'll we use for lighting the fire?" The chief's blush was hidden by the white and red clay. Into his uncertain silence the tribe spilled their murmur once more. Then the chief held up his hand. "We shall take fire from the others. Listen, tomorrow we'll hunt and get meat. Tonight I'll go along with 2 hunters. Who'll come?" Maurice and Roger put up their hands. "Maurice!" "Yes, Chief?" "Where was their fire?" "Back at the old place, by the fire rock." The chief nodded. "The rest of you can go to sleep as soon as the sun sets. But us 3, Maurice, Roger, and me, we've got work to do. We'll leave just before sunset." Maurice put up his hand. "But what happens if we meet?" The chief waved his objection aside. "We'll keep along by the sands. Then if he comes we'll do our dance again." "Only the 3 of us?" Again the murmur swelled and died away.